Welcome to Nitpicking Nerds, and today we're talking about winning the game.
And all the different ways to do it.
I'm your host, Joe Cherries.
I'm your host, Beezy, and along with Amber, my cat, that makes us the Nitpicking Nerds. All three of us are working tirelessly to bring you daily Commander content. And since we're doing it every day, we can wish a happy birthday to everyone whose birthday is today. Amber gets a little skittish when we mention the Patreon because she's so bashful. She doesn't want people to monetarily support us. But if you want to anyway, because I know she'd appreciate it, you can go to the link in the description.
Yes, and if you want to support us in other ways while supporting yourself, you can go to, firstly, TCGPLAYER.com. Affiliate link in the description below. Go there, click the link, and once you've clicked the link, you're on the site. Buy whatever cards you were going to buy anyway because you're a Magic player. But guess what? The Nitpicking Nerds get a kickback. Thank you.
Yeah, and there's a Dragon Shield link for EU or US in the description. Go buy the best sleeves in the multiverse.
Good sleeves.
For yourself, custom sleeves as a gift, whatever, use the link and then we get a kickback on the order. Or, separate, totally unrelated note, if you want to see what kind of decks we're brewing, go follow us on Maraschiello.
Yes, Maraschiello is the best way to build decks in the multiverse. To build them, so use that website. You can follow us here and you can see all of our decks that we currently have. All right, we got a great video here. This is super interesting. We're talking about win conditions, ways to win the game. And now I want to start with this. From a standpoint, every way of winning the game is almost logically identical. It doesn't really matter at all. But that's not how it comes off when you play a game of Commander.
Nope.
When you sit down, when somebody wins via, we're just going to start, I'll list some of these here just so we can get to, right into the video. Combat, it feels a lot different than a combo, and it feels a lot different than when somebody just does a one-card, big, splashy thing win the game. These all feel differently. So let's discuss them. Let's get into it, and why is it? Why does a combo feel different than combat?
And what can we do about it? So the first one, we're just going to run through these. It's combat. Obviously, this is like, when you think about how to win a game of Magic, this is probably the first thing you're thinking of, especially if you're a newer player. Well, I have creatures. I'm just going to turn them sideways and get there. One of the problems and deterrences from being able to win via combat in Commander is the fact that everybody has 40 life. That's 120 damage you have to deal, assuming you're trying to deal all of it. So it's not the most efficient way to win at all. But there's plenty of ways to stack up ridiculous damage.
Yeah, combat is a totally viable way to go in Commander. It's one of the toughest ways to win in Commander, though, as opposed to 20-card formats where in 20-card formats, I'll bet you 95% of games, at least, have ended in combat. It's probably more like 99% of.
I mean, I'm even thinking of like creatureless control decks that just play like 5 mana Teferi in that standard. But they were like, all right, Castle Ardenvale, make 15 tokens over the course of the game.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the win count for almost every deck is to deal combat damage. And that's totally reasonable and a way to go. But in Commander, with so much damage to be dealt, it is tough to do, and often, because we talk about power on this channel, we steer people away from just going to combat because it is so hard to do.
I mean, having combat win conditions is great, but that's never my only goal. If I have a deck that can only move through combat, I'm not going to feel super confident about it, or I've already relegated it to like a lower power level deck. Like, this is my 5, this is my 4. I don't want to do anything else. And there's also a subcategory of combat with commander damage. You only have to deal 63 damage now, which is not that much less, but you have to use your commander for it.
Yeah, also something about combat that is combat, dealing damage over the game in other ways. If you, for an example of a random thing, a Stuffy Doll.
Like burn?
Burn type effects. This isn't technically combat, but we're talking about dealing all the life points to your opponent. That's
damage.
All the damage to your opponent over the game, slow burn, like, maybe you'll deal 25 one turn, then you'll deal 5 another, somebody hits somebody for 10. That's the kind of combat, that's the kind of damage we're talking about. It's not necessarily 100% in the combat phase. Winning via combat is one of the most accepted, and I would say it is one of the most fun ways to play Commander. When everybody's doing the combat thing, going in, and the game feels like it grinds out, and each turn matters a whole lot. Combat feels like the best way to engage. And I love games based around combat, and it's just so fun. I build decks for this.
When everyone is building around combat, the tension is kind of baked in, and you're almost guaranteed to have highs and lows and deals and big moments. When we'll get to the other ways to win the game, some of that goes away. Combat kind of always has it, but the games definitely are going to be longer, and some people don't like that part of it.
Yeah, and it could definitely when games are based in combat, you said they're going to be longer. Things like board wipes, they make the game a lot longer. So when there's a lot of board wipes in the combat-based game, every time the board gets wiped, the main ways of dealing damage are all gone. So that's going to be a deterrence, like Those games can be really long. Those are the games that when your friend says they played a 2-3 hour game of Commander, guess what? It was based around combat.
That's part of the reason we don't advocate for only winning via combat. And I guess with this specific version of combat, we're kind of just talking about like swinging for, like 20 to 50, a lot of damage.
Yeah.
But not a million damage. We're just talking about like, hey, get your 6/6 in there and kill people. So we never advocate for that, because when you do that, you set yourself up to just play these 2 hour games or games you don't want to be a part of. Because honestly, I never want to play a 2.5 hour game when I could play 3 games in that entire period, all having satisfactory conclusions to me. So I never want to do that. So I always steer people clear of it, because you just don't need to. There are better ways, more efficient ways to win. It's just going to make your deck better.
Yeah, exactly. It's fun. It's more fun, but at the cost of sometimes it causes unfun when they drag out that long.
Oh yeah.
When you have no basic alternative win conditions, it can really make a game just feel like you're stuck in combat. Because if the board gets clogged and nobody can push through damage, you're just sitting there. Everyone sits there and stares at each other.
And if you go into a table knowing build, swing is the only win condition for everybody, board wipes are the strongest cards ever. You just shut somebody down and send them back to the Stone Age, and I'm not going to let that be a weakness of every deck ever. The next win condition is still combat-based, but we are going so big that the numbers actually just stop mattering, right? So the first section, it's combat. I'm giving my creatures +1/+1. There's a bunch of 6/6s attacking you for like 50, and you're dead because you were at 40. But this time, the win cons you'll see for our decks for combat, it's like, I'm not attacking you for 50. I'm attacking you for 500, and there's nothing you could ever do.
Yeah, like the numbers almost don't matter. If my opponents can be at 300, but it doesn't matter because I'm swinging for 1,500 damage, 500 at everybody.
My creatures are unblockable, or even maybe I made infinite creatures or infinite power or something like that.
And this is going around combat essentially. Like it is still a winning combat, but it turns into this completely different beast where it's like it didn't really matter what you had.
It's guaranteed. You could have 50/50s, and a lot of these bigger combat damage wins are just going to soar right over you and destroy you.
Yeah, and so this is the first instance where we get to talk about let's talk about Craterhoof. Craterhoof is a 1-card thing, and we're going to get in, there's a whole little section about 1-card victories, but Craterhoof is just 1 card. It almost, if you've developed a board, it takes you to the victory lane because it's so dang strong. It creates one of these combat victories where what they had never mattered. So what I wanted to actually say before I got distracted by the Craterhoof Behemoth was that this is the first instance of invalidating other turns.
Other resources,
other things that have happened. And by that I mean, when you do a win like this, it never mattered what they had on the board. It didn't really matter the turns that led up to this because your damage is so much. Even if they gained up to 300 life, it didn't matter. And you essentially it's not literally invalid, but you invalidate what has happened the rest of the game. And that is a bad feeling that we're going to get to a lot in this video. It's super important, and it's how people feel because it really seems that way. When you watch somebody when you play a long, grindy game, and you've dealt like a ton of damage here, a ton of damage there, you've put things on board, you're defending yourself super well, maybe you even have a counterspell backup, but then they go like uncounterable Craterhoof. It's like, well, darn it. I set up perfectly and I put myself in a great position, and then nothing mattered. Nothing I did mattered to this point because you just killed us all in one swing.
Right. Like when every player is at 20, there's been a lot of exchanges, but if I'm attacking you for 500, you could be at 500. You're dead. It doesn't you haven't really stopped me. You haven't got any closer to living or dying. It's just, I had 500. You were never going to have 500 on defense, and now you're done. And now this is, as far as reception goes, obviously more negatively received than just regular combat, salt of the earth, like limited combat. But it's not that bad. People still would prefer this over pretty much anything we're going to talk about after this.
Yeah, exactly. People don't seem to there's not too bad of reception. There is a very negative feedback to specifically like Craterhoof Behemoth.
That card gets a lot of groans.
That card it gets a lot of groans because it's just
the best at what it does.
It's not only the best at what it does, it's the best at what it does by so many leaps and bounds. Like almost no other card competes with it, and because of that, it's like, Craterhoof, of course it's over. Yep, let's scoop them up.
Like the budget version is +2/+2 and vigilance. That's the budget Craterhoof with the same mana cost. And we're never going to get Craterhoof again. They're just not going to happen.
Yeah, Craterhoof is it's so good. It's so dang good. All right, up next is the Big Daddy, the one that's won more Commander games than any one of these. It's combos. And we're not just talking about any combos. We're talking about the Your whole deck is built around getting these, doing these, and you're just 2-card, 3-card combos. Deck is designed to do it. It is the most efficient way to win in all of Commander because, simply put, you don't want to have to do combat. It's too much damage. But if you can just cast these 2 cards, they work together, you win. That's why you just got around doing all that stupid damage.
Right. Everything that bypasses combat, making infinite Godos that all can attack forever, that is getting past combat.
That's a combo.
You're not actually participating in combat. It's infinite. You'll never stop until you win. Or it's like a loop that you can repeat enough times that you're guaranteed to win almost every game conceivable. So, like Sanguine Bond and Exquisite Blood, Kiki Jiki, Pestermite, Mikaeus Triskelion, that kind of thing, where you're gonna be going and everyone knows at the table he's working towards that Mikaeus. He's got Mikaeus in his graveyard. We can't let him get Triskelion, that kind of thing. This is a combo deck. I'm gonna combo you out. It's easily the most efficient way to win.
It is, and it is the most efficient way to win, but it is hated a lot. Now, this really gets to the point of that invalidation thing, where it feels like nothing mattered. It doesn't even matter if everyone got put to 1. Because if somebody combos, they just win because that's what a combo does. It didn't matter that everyone was at 1 life.
Well, you could add 150 players to the game, and you still win equally.
Yeah, you could add 150 players.
It does nothing.
Yeah, it just didn't. It never. All the other turns feel really like this is more than anything just going to make you feel that way, where it's like nothing mattered. You were just going to. It's like we played a 10-turn game. And then you just threw together a combo. It's like, well, all my decisions, they just felt like they didn't matter. And that feeling is so legitimate, and everybody feels it because it feels like sometimes a game. It's not 100% true, but it feels like a game is sometimes a waste of time.
Part of the problem though is that games have to end, and we all understand that, and we
Absolutely.
all are striving for some certain kind of time span. So you kind of have to it's like one of the evils of the format that you just let in. It's like, oh man, he had it, we couldn't stop him, but in reality, it's like, what if he had just done that on turn 1? What would the difference have been? Like, not a ton other than time. And then you can kind of get into this toxic mindset where you're like, well, what was the point of any of that? Why? I would have just died anyway. It's like, I don't know if that's the best path to go down, but it is a feeling people get.
Yeah. I mean, let's continue. That's how people feel about this because I want to we'll get to a more broad thing at the end where we're super broad and we talk about all of these together. Next is critical mass combos. These are different. Your deck isn't built to combo, but if you achieve the right pieces, usually 4 or more cards, you can just do some sort of loop and put the game away with a number of cards. These are less hated, but still can feel just as bad.
That's pretty much our go-to. It's also like, how many pieces do I need to get in play that you don't interact with before I just kind of like, quote unquote, deserve to win? Like, you didn't remove my 5 artifacts that I just played. When I loop them all, I require all 5 of these things, but if I have that and 2 creatures out, I just get to make infinite creatures and attack you. It's like, at some point, it's a combo, but it's critical mass. Like, I got the time. Well, the big key factor in it is probably time. Time and resources invested. It's always the same with these 2-card combos, but these are all different, and they all cannot happen until later in the game, like maybe turn 7. It's like, hey, you couldn't stop my Rube Goldberg machine. I think it's fair that you died. And I feel, that's how I usually feel about it, where it's like, eh.
Yeah, and I used to think a lot more similar to that, but I've come to the other, like an opposite side of it, where it just feels like, it feels a lot more like regular combos. Sometimes the table's low on interaction, even if you're playing all interactive decks, and because you sat down with a deck that does this, and you were rewarded for the least interaction. So, like, say that there was, like, only 5 interaction spells between everybody. And that's going to happen sometimes. Like, Commander is a 100-card singleton format. You're going to shuffle up the deck, and all of the removal spells are on the bottom sometimes. That is something that happens. And it feels really bad when, 3 of the decks are just like, oh, we're doing our thing. But one of the decks is able to, like, I have critical mass combos. I wasn't interacting with enough. I'm just going to take off and win the game. And that can feel almost as bad, but it's not, like, and I understand it wasn't built to do that. But the deck is like, I'm pushing. If I am left alone, I will win the game. And that is a great way to build a deck. But it still feels kind of bad to be on the opposite side of it.
Something that's really interesting when you get to, now that we've talked about the thought processes behind what happens, how do your opponents feel when you accomplish this? This one is interesting, maybe more so than combos. If I let my opponent play Grave Titan, and then a Zombie Lord, and then a Clone, and then they untap again, they're just going to wreck me. They've assembled so much power, like, I'm just going to die. And a lot of people would say, yeah, you didn't interact, you deserve to die. And it's similar, definitely similar to, he's got 5 artifacts in play. He's looping Ashnod's Altar. Like, you're going to die. You didn't answer any of those. But it feels so much different.
It feels, yeah, exactly.
Same result, like, should have interacted. But the like, mindset people get into is so much different.
Yeah, and I mean, it feels the same way. It's like, if I get beat down in combat, like, just 4/4s all day, just crushing me, and I didn't have a chance to stop it. It's like, yeah, I wish I had drawn interaction.
Where were your board wipes?
Where were my board wipes? I didn't get there. That stunk. But like the same thing, it is the same thing when you go to a critical mass combo where it's like, oh, I just didn't interact and his pieces comboed and they end up winning. But God, it feels so much worse. I've been in all these situations. I've lost to everyone that we've talked about so far. I've obviously
We've won with and lost with all of them.
yeah,
10 times.
Yeah, at times, exactly. We've lost to and won with every single one of them.
This is the last one. It's not a combo. It's not combat. These are like a very specific short list of cards that just kind of, at least 90% of the time, let's say, win the game by themselves or require such little investment that when you play them, almost no matter when you play them, you just kind of win with very little support. So I'm talking Expropriate. An Expropriate cast on turn 7 through 10 is pretty much game over. I don't have a memory of when it wasn't, and in a lot of cases, I want to scoop anyway.
Yeah, Expropriate, it turns the tides deeply in your favor, and if you have a board state, it does require at least some little board state to get there. But it doesn't matter because you just turn anything you had into a victory. You're taking an extra turn, and now you control everybody's best permanent, or in the case of they're definitely 100% going to win if they take their best permanent, now you don't control their best permanent. You just get a second extra turn, and good luck ever losing through that.
Yep, there's also Tooth and Nail, where if you have the two cards in your deck, this is the combo, but Tooth and Nail is different because it's one card. Now, this is like you have to actively decide not to win if your two best targets win the game. Maybe they assemble some critical mass thing, but all you did was cast Tooth and Nail, and you built your deck off screen, off out of the game, and no one saw that tension. It's just, all right, we done here? And everyone's just like, why am I playing creatures? What's going on? I couldn't counter that because I was like trying to make a Voltron commander.
Yeah, same thing with Protein Oak. Sometimes it's just like you play a whole. BZ's played his Corridor deck before he moved it up to like the competitive tier. He would just pull it out, play it, and then like every little things would happen, and all of a sudden, oh, here's a Protein Oak, I sacrifice, I win. It's like, well, wow, that was just one card out of nowhere, and it assembles combos. And when he, again, like you said, when you built the deck, you had to make choices. It wasn't in the game. You just won. You played. In fact, it gets to the point where if you play against that deck so much, he goes, Protein Oak, sacrifice it, and everyone goes, you got any interaction, you got any interaction, you got any interaction. No. Okay, he wins. We don't even have to make him do this.
That's how a lot of it ends, is the spell's on the stack, and everyone's like, do you have anything? And the answer is no, and the game ends. We don't even have to come close to resolving it. That kind of stuff, for me, that's at the top of the feel bad because you're not even assembling anything in a lot of the scenarios, like especially with Expropriate, which is famously a card I don't like playing against more so than the rest. Definitely gives me the sour taste. Like, what does your deck do? You're the Expropriate deck. Your deck is cast Expropriate, and I'm just like, man, I'm trying to build synergy, and sometimes it's like an error of communication. But we've made a lot of these mistakes the hard way of like, I don't know, I thought this card was good. Turns out it dominates every time.
Yeah, exactly. Expropriate is just an insane card. It wins by itself, and when you read it, it doesn't read that. It reads as like this strong,
whoa,
9 mana Timmy card. You're getting a lot. You're definitely getting a lot for your mana, but it's 9 mana. It's not just going to win the game. Oh, no, it just, most of the time you just turn that into a win. Now let's start getting into comparing these, contrasting these, and what we are doing to play the ones we want. We have been very much heavier on combos at like critical mass combos over time, and we advocate for them, especially for power. I've come to a point, especially in the past, I would say 6 months with Commander, where I want most games to be combat damage and sometimes, big, giant, splashy, like effects. Like I'm talking about like a Chandra's Ignition. And that would go in the category of combat damage that's so much, it's basically unblockable. It's so much, it doesn't matter. I like that sometimes, but I want most games to be really in that combat phase where that's being decided. But that's tough to do because if you're playing with both the sides, it's easy to do. Then yeah, obviously, if I say let's do it, B says let's do it, and whoever we're gonna play with says let's do it, the game's gonna go like that.
But how could you ever guarantee that with a group of strangers or a playgroup or your LGS? But there's two environments where we see that all of this kind of feels bad stuff gets cut out, and you can basically, in the nicest possible way, force everyone to be on the exact same playing field every single time with, I'm not kidding, 0 outlier games that end in a feel-bad moment.
The two ways to play that make combat super important and make the game feel like every turn mattered is Commander Legends and Commander Cube. Now, Commander Legends is a set that you draft, and you play it. Commander Cube is, a cube that we made, and, you draft it, but we didn't put any combos in the cube. And Commander Legends has like one combo, and it's like 3 rares.
Yeah, let's do Commander Legends first. So Commander Legends is a draft environment. It's a set. You buy it, you open packs, and you literally draft it, and you build a commander deck, and then you sling spells and you play. Now that format, I would say, it's not perfect. There's some problems with it. I will maybe edit my 0 feels bad because some of the cards are like not balanced for the rarity. One that really stood out was like Makeshift Munitions at common. That card led to a lot of like, oh, what the heck are we doing here? Some hostage holding situations. But overall, the format, perfectly balanced in terms of combat matters, attacking matters. You can't even necessarily eliminate a player because most of the time your maximum player eliminations at one time is 1. So when you do that and you swing out and you devote all these resources to eliminating someone, there's tension that may make you not make that decision because then you're just dead to the other 2 people and you lose that. I think almost every one of these high power games where like, I'm never really killing one person. Like I don't have to decide not to kill people. I'm looping Karmic Guide at the late game, or I'm just swinging for 50-100 with my Crater Hoof, like 2,000 at you, 2,000 at you, 2,000 at you. Good game. It's not like, could attack that one person for 1,000,000, but then what about the other 2 people? That never comes up.
Yeah, exactly. In Commander Legends, there's tension,
so much
assessment, politics. In Commander Legends, politics matters so much.
Monarch.
You have to talk to your opponents. You have to figure it out because the games, this is something that happened and that was discussed. Online games of Commander Legends draft sucked because you don't really talk to the players. So it just ended up in this big giant board stalls. No one did anything and it was unfun. When you're in paper with your friends, it's one of the most fun ways I've ever played Magic in my entire life. Every turn matters. Every interaction feels like it matters, and that's what I want. That's what I want out of all my games of Magic. Not just Commander. I want it to feel like my decision trees matter, and where I can make choices that can put me in a position to win the game.
Yes, and I think Commander Legends fell a little bit short on power, just in terms of like there was a lot of literal vanilla creatures in that format. So sometimes you really had to scrap things out, and the games could drag. But I think my actual favorite way to play Magic or Commander, I guess Magic, is the Commander Cube that we built, and obviously. You can build your own Commander Cube. But what I love about this, that we've played, how many Commander Cubes have we played? 50 drafts now?
At least.
Of this thing. And it has been so much fun. We basically just said, hey, what are the things in Commander that feel bad that we think it would be better without, where we can keep all the good stuff and literally just filter out everything bad. It's like, well, fast mana leads to unbalanced games. All right, it's gone. Tuners lead to reduced variance. All right, it's gone. Combos, there are literally no combos in the cube. I mean, we're taking them out as we see them. So, like, if anything emerges that we see is like, oh, man, like with Commander Legends, Makeshift Munitions kind of feels bad in the late game. Okay, but in the Commander Cube version, it's like, okay, just remove it.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what we did. Rakdos Sacrifice, actually. That was one of the archetypes. And we were like, it just always ends up holding people hostage with Mayhem Devil. It's like, we just took the whole archetype out and replaced it with Madness, and now it's way better.
Yeah, exactly. And it feels a lot better. And that's what's so great about Commander Cube is you get to cultivate the environment 100%. This is something that is... Though it is possible for playgroups to do, and some playgroups do it very well, and it's so hard. It's so hard to cultivate the exact experience you want because there's miscommunications, there's human error, there's a lot of different things. In the Commander Cube, it's built beforehand.
There's nothing outside the Commander Cube that could ever happen. So as long as you know the interactions going on with the Commander Cube, for us, it's like combat, big plays. We want to cast 6, 7, 8 mana spells at the top end, but they don't win by themselves. You have to build synergy. You have to build around something, or your deck's going to suck.
Exactly, and that feels so good. So I want to talk about something that both of us have done. So one of the main win cons that you put in a lot of your decks is critical mass combos.
I'm kind of the spin your wheels critical mass engine guy.
And now, like you said the words, and I really like this because it fit how you're thinking so well, that for critical mass combos, the reason you like them so much is if no one stops you, you're going to win. You're going to turn that into a win. Now, sitting on the opposite side of the table, why that feels so bad to play against. I'm sitting there with you, and we're playing a game, and yeah, you're getting ahead. But you can be ahead. You can be dominating the game and doing all these awesome things, but then it just ends. That's where the bad feeling comes in. It's not like, okay, BZ's a threat. Oh, we got to stop him, guys. He's got like 13 cards in hand. How are we going to do this? He's attacking every single turn. Oh my God, his board's better than everybody's.
Oh, never mind. Now he's got 7 cards in hand, and he just played a Karma Guide loop. It's over.
Exactly, and that's where the feel bad comes from, especially from like my perspective. Like when I play against BZ, it's not that critical mass combos are like inherently, too good. They're definitely not too good. But like the game had tension, and all the tension was going, and it's like you're really far ahead. You're kicking our butts, and we got to stop you somehow. And then you take away our chance to ever stop you by just killing us all at one time with a combo, and that always feels so bad.
And I have you on the opposite end of the spectrum with the one card never mattered type thing, where like that's what kind of grinded my gears a little bit, where it's like Joe Cherry's, man, he's so far ahead, he's making that creature's gigantic. We're going to have to do something. Wait, Chandra's Ignition. It's a 50-50. Okay, I guess we're not going to do anything about it because we're all dead. Or expropriate ever at any point. I guess I'm dead.
Yeah, like so I'm a very Timmy builder, and this actually goes into that because you're a Johnny builder, and critical mass combos are very Johnny. Timmy's the big one card wins. I just like playing big, impactful, splashy spells. It's not about like them winning me the game. That wasn't what it was about at any point. It was always about playing the cool giant spells that did things that did more things than you could like get out of anything else. It's why
and they did, and then the game was over.
Yeah, but that's why I love like Amanatu's Augury. It's a card that is big, splashy, does something beyond belief, but it doesn't just win you the game.
It doesn't do anything by itself. But then any of the cards you get just win you the game.
Sometimes they do, but if you don't put those cards in your deck, you don't put the expropriates and the
time stretches
into your deck. Now you cast a card, you get still like 25 mana worth of cards, and it puts you in a dominating position, and now there's tension.
Right.
And the tension is key. Most win conditions get around the tension. And that's the sad part.
And they should. And it's totally reasonable for any deck builder to say, why would I jump over this hurdle? I can just knock it out of the way and barrel past it and beat everybody to the finish line.
Yeah, exactly. No, it's funny. It's not a hurdle. It's
a styrofoam cup.
It's a cone. It's a cone in the middle of the road that you could try. You can go to it and you could just try and knock it over and go right through. But it's so easy to walk around.
You're driving, actually. Just run it over.
Just go around it. It's so easy. It's like the road's huge. Go around the stupid cone.
And I'm not going to fault anybody, but if people are having this kind of thing, 100% recommend Commander Legends, and 100% if you have 7 friends or even 3 friends.
Okay, 7 friends, and at least you have to have a good budget to throw at Commander Cube because it's expensive.
Well, I don't know if you necessarily do.
Okay.
Because I think you can make a Commander Cube for like $500 and have it be totally awesome. So, but if you have 3 friends, which gives you a pot of 4, or 7 friends, which gives you a pot of 8, 100% recommend Commander Cube. If you're kind of aligning with where we're at, definitely check ours out. I don't think ours is crazy expensive. A lot of it is lands, honestly, because we have like fetches and duels in there. Not OG duels, but dual lands and stuff. It's really not as bad as you might think. It's not $5,000. It's under that, and if you take out lands or go budget tap lands, it's probably like $2,000.
Yeah. Commander Cube.
We're excluding all the power dock. There's no dockside in this. That's not a thing that we want to experience.
The big thing about this whole video is this is all about feeling because these things aren't logically different. How you win isn't really that much different if it's combat, if it's big giant crater hoof, if it's a critical mass combo, if it's a 2-card combo. None of these are really that different. The end result is the game ended, you scoop up the cards, and you play another one. Now, if nobody was emotional and nobody cared, but we're not robots.
We all process stuff differently, and I gotta go with this last one. This is our last recommendation where you don't have to change anything about any deck or buy any cards, but an experiment to try that I think would 100% help solve every single one of these problems is try starting the game at 30 life each, because what it does is it ramps up the tension, makes every attack step, every commander hit. Maybe you can reduce commander damage if you want, whatever. Any attack step is now more relevant. It puts more pressure on decks, allows people to sit back behind their life total, basically, and just do nothing. It makes that much less tenable. You're not going to get to turn 9 expropriate if you take 14 damage, and now you have to be like, whoa, hold on. 2 attacks, kill me. What if 2 people decide to team up? And then that really ramps things up. And it also, as a side bonus, balances out stupid cards like Necropotence, Ad Nauseam, Sarah Ascendant that just run away with the game.
Yeah, I want to say 30 life. I'm not 100% sure this is the answer to an answer and 100% what we should be doing.
I think it helps.
But I think it has a lot of great points behind it, and it does change a lot about the format to make it more interesting. Now, is it 100% the best? Am I saying this has to be done? No, because I don't have the research and I haven't played enough games of 30 life Commander to really know. But I think it does solve a lot of issues, but maybe it does cause other issues, and that's I mean, I don't know for sure. It's tough to know without exploring it and doing it.
I can pretty safely say, though, if you say, hey, man, I'm having some problems, like my thought process is all, when I'm looking at these people winning these games like this, it just isn't doing it for me. I feel like some of the magic is gone with these critical mass or these regular combos. Try 30 Life. I think that will 100% help you.
Friday, we're going to talk about our deck building philosophies, thought processes. And I think that is where you fix these issues, these feelings, and how you win the game. It all happens in deck building.
Be the change you want to see in the world.
It all is about your deck building. It doesn't have anything to do with how you play when you get to the table. You should play to win at the table. I think I will go over that because I think it is so important that everyone at the table plays to win the game. I think that's one of the most important things. It all starts in deck building. That is the spot where you can make the changes you need to.
Well, we'll get there, baby. We'll get there. And I think hopefully this gives you some tools to just have better commander experiences. We're not even like telling anyone to do anything or suggesting anything. It's like, hey, if you have these problems, these will help you. Go get over. Like, we start with the problem. If you don't have any problems, then more power to you. You're playing good commander games.
I care. I want combat to matter a lot in commander. I do.
At least more.
I want it to matter more, and the only way to do that is to get me, Beezy, and our other friends to agree that combat should matter more, so we can power our decks to that level. But that is our video. Special shout-outs to every single one of our patrons. Thank you all for sitting here and listening to us rant about how we feel.
About Craterhoof Behemoth ruining my day.
Makes me sad. I absolutely thank you guys so much. You guys are awesome. Literally the best patrons in the world.
If you want to support us other ways, there's a TCG player link in the description. Buy the cards you're going to buy anyway through the affiliate link, and we get a kickback on the order. And if you're really into kickbacks, head over to Dragon Shield, either the EU or the US link, for the best sleeves in the multiverse.
Good sleeves.
And once you buy those, either custom, as a gift, whatever, we get a kickback on that order as well.
Yes, and if you want to follow us on Moxfield, the best way to build a decks and, really just, it's a deck building website. That's what it is. You go there and you follow us at this link, and guess what? You get us that top spot, because we're going
hunting.
We're hunting for that top spot. You can see every single one of our decks and all of our win cons for those decks. They're in the decks.
Interesting.
And mentioning Patreon real quick, like you did before, I did a census. They called it a census. It's basically a little survey they asked, for creators who use Patreon. They asked me is there a term for our patrons? That in the term.
You gotta be honest.
I was honest. I told them they're the poopy babies.
That's what we call them.
I literally told Patreon.com that you guys are the poopy babies.
Thanks. Now, the totally unpredictable tidbit is that the Nitpicking Nerds, we're not in trouble. We're not doing so hot either.
We're fine.
We're in a sticky wicket because we got the Rona. What's another non-specific way to say it so that we don't get demonetized? We got the virus. We're quarantined.
Yeah.
We're both infected.
Yeah, we to be fair, we did a quick test, and we both feel fine and healthy. BZ has a slight sore throat. It's nothing too serious. It was just so we don't 100% have the Rona, as you said, but we're just going to treat it as if we do. We're going to be quarantining for 5 days. We're only going to leave the house after that 5 days if BZ is symptom free.
We got a second test for after that.
And if I start feeling symptoms, then obviously we'll extend it a little further. We can afford to stay home.
I mean, we make videos in our second floor spare bedroom, basically, that we just converted into a studio. So we don't have to go anywhere. I'd certainly like to go places. I'm going to need to get some activities lined up for when I never leave my room.
Yeah, so it's a little sad, but we do unfortunately have to stay home for the next 5 days.
5 days. So get ready for... I guess now's the time to message us on stuff because we're going to be in front of our computers.
I think this is super important, and I think I'm going to send out this exact same tweet every single month for new followers on Twitter. I said, if my DMs are open, if you want to talk about anything serious just Magic, just message me. On Discord. Twitter's a little, I don't mind talking on Twitter. I don't mind it at all, but you don't know who you're talking to. It feels like I have to expressly say I'm Joe Cherries for you to know that. But like on Discord, we have
different profiles.
Exactly. I'm Joe Cherries. So feel free to message me on literally any platform you can get a hold of me on, and I will respond. I absolutely will respond. That's it. Peace out, Tribe Scout.